Get the cream, precious metals or the crypto things. Your bars are light like the one that's on a Smith machine. But my Maxwell and I ain't speaking about the pretty wings. Watch a potty mouth a clean.
3 Count Commentaries is on the air. We're going to be talking about Smackdown from March the 8th, 2023. We're also going to be doing an extensive news and notes segment. It might not be that extensive, but we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame inductions and the racism versus Bianca Belair. What is that about? I don't know. Okay, I didn't pay too much attention to it, but my understanding of it is Bianca Belair is featured on the cover of WWE 2K24. And because of this, some people are not happy that Bianca Belair is on the cover of that video game. And they were accused of the racism. So what was actually said? They, of course, were talking about the cover talent for the WWE 2K24 game. Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, Bianca Belair. Some guy from Instagram says, quote, Bianca doesn't belong, but guess gotta have a black. Somebody else says the two on the left, yes, Bianca, absolutely not. So people are saying that Rhea Ripley and Cody Rhodes should definitely be cover of the game, but Bianca shouldn't. Now, this one comment, Bianca doesn't belong, but guess gotta have a black, is at least intimating that it might be racial, the reason why they don't want her on the cover of the game. Now, yes, there are racist people. These people exist. Is this person a racist person? I don't know. Is this person chosen Bianca to single her out because she's not on the same level or didn't have the same quality of year that Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley had? I mean, at this point, they put Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley on the cover of the game due to the phenomenal year these people have had, and they're considered the top stars in their, let me be correct, they're considered the top stars in their division on Raw, and Bianca is the top star on her division on SmackDown. Theoretically, of course, EO is the champion, but they put Bianca on the cover. Now, at least that first comment intimates that the reason that he might not want her on the cover is because she's black. It implies a sort of DEI sort of, well, we got to have somebody of color on the cover of this game. And she's essentially a token. That's what this guy is suggesting. Is that true? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was true. I mean, knowing how the video game industry behaves now, I wouldn't be surprised if she hasn't been tokenized and was the person who is being utilized as, well, we got to have a black person on the cover of this game, so it should be Bianca. At the same time, though, it's a very ignorant comment because Bianca does tons of commercials and has been in many of the WWE's sponsorship deals. She's almost always there. She, of course, has a Hulu show and all this kind of stuff. So it's not that Bianca is some random black chick that they threw on the cover of the game. She is one of the higher level stars of the modern day that they put on the cover of the game. So an outpouring of people from Big E to Rhea Ripley to various fans and et cetera, came out and to support Bianca and say, oh yes, we need to stand up against racism, especially racism against black women. And they made it a whole thing. The issue, of course, is all the virtue signaling. We don't need all of that. You can make the perfectly solid argument that Bianca Belair deserves to be on the cover of the game based off of her actual talent and what she means to the company, rather than saying, well, you just have a problem with her because she's black. Well, maybe they don't like Bianca Belair. It's okay. It's stupid because she's phenomenal, but you don't have to like her. It's all right. And you're not obligated to like everybody that other people like. You know, I think that it's more accepting with Rhea Ripley because she's been the champion for a long time, more accepting of Cody because he's becoming the face of the company. But Bianca Belair is not there. She's been sidelined by Triple H. So people were kind of like, well, maybe it should be somebody else. There has been other marketing gimmicks that have put Bianca on the cover, and people say, well, Bianca's space should be filled by Bayley. Because Bayley won the Royal Rumble. She should be on the cover of this gimmick. Why is Bianca on the cover? It's been posters and the live events and stuff like that that has featured Bianca, who doesn't even have a clear WrestleMania match yet, and didn't feature Io or Bayley. And some people have an attitude about that. And that might be the reason why you see a guy saying, well, you got to have a black guy, because neither Io or Bayley are black. But I don't care about this. I'm also not very racially sensitive. So to me, even if it was a racist guy being racist against Bianca Belair, he can't affect her career in any way. So what? Some ignorant doof on Instagram doesn't like Bianca Belair. How is he going to have any impact on her career? None. He has no impact on her career whatsoever. It's one guy's opinion. And we have to have an entire investigation with various wrestlers coming out of the woodwork, either guys who don't even work for WWE, coming out of the woodwork to stand up and virtue signal. It's like, this guy is not worth it. He's not worth the time. It's dumb. It's not even really worth me spending 3 or 4 minutes on. I've already spent a lot of time on this. It's dumb. So whatever. Let's just move on. Because I realized as I was talking that I was spending too much time on it. Who cares what one person's opinion is, and who knows what that guy was thinking. Okay, let's get into the Hall of Fame. They announced Bull Nakano for the Hall of Fame, and they announced the US Express for the Hall of Fame. Bull Nakano, absolutely phenomenal choice. A lot of people are question Bull Nakano because it's like, okay, she wasn't in WWE that long. She was there for like a year, and she primarily, I think almost exclusively, worked with Alundra Blaze. I don't remember her WWE career that much other than her winning the title, a women's title, for a short time. But for Bull Nakano, you're talking about an entire career. You know, she has been a trendsetter and a trailblazer for female wrestling in Japan her entire career. One of the most popular female wrestlers in Japanese history. Absolutely deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, even if she didn't do much of anything in WWE. The US Express, however, I kind of raise my eyebrows because when people mention like the greatest, especially WWF tag teams of all time, these guys don't come up. Like nobody has ever, I've never talked to anybody who has said, oh, the US Express, they're one of the greatest WWF tag teams of all time. Demolition, yes. The Hart Foundation, yes. Even the Killer Bees, who Stephanie McMahon said was one of her favorite tag teams. Yes. The Legion of Doom, aka the Road Warriors. Yes. The Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys. You know, you can go on and on. Yes. The US Express. Look, everybody loves Barry Windham. Anybody who knows anything about wrestling loves Barry Windham. This will be his second Hall of Fame induction. The other half of this team is Mike Rotunda, who is IRS. And IRS is not a Hall of Fame gimmick. But he is the father of Bray Wyatt. Now, this is, to me, and this is just my conspiracy theory, that this is a tease that Bray Wyatt is going to be the last induction into the Hall of Fame. They want to do the Wyndham Rotunda thing. So Bray Wyatt is going to be announced. His dad is going to be put in, and his uncle is going to get put in all at the same time. Now, I don't think that the US Express is not a great tag team. I've watched a lot of their material, but what about like Strike Force? You know, Tito Santana and Rick Martel, great tag team, extremely popular. The breakup was very well done. You know, I think people probably remember Strike Force better than they remember the US Express. And I'm not saying this, of course, to downgrade them. I would just say that as far as tag teams that are worthy of the Hall of Fame, sure, you can make the argument that the US Express should be in the Hall of Fame, but there's a ton of tag teams that should probably be in before them. And I'm pretty sure that the reason why they're being put in now is because Barry Windham has had health challenges. So while they, in some people's opinion, and I think that they're a great tag team, I don't know if they're a Hall of Fame tag team because I haven't watched enough of that stuff. But if you want to put them in the Hall of Fame, I'm fine with it. But there's got to be like 8 other teams that are not in the Hall of Fame that probably should be in over the US Express. But I understand the idea of why you want to put them in now. Okie dokie. So that is the Hall of Fame. That is the racism versus Bianca Belair stuff. Now, I guess we have to talk about the Smackdown, where we began last week with The Rock. The Rock cuts a 10-minute promo in a cowboy hat, and it's absolutely absurd. It's absurd. So the long and the short of it is The Rock says he's not full of shit. He's not. He tells the truth that Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, they waited until Raw went off the air to talk shit about The Rock. When he talks shit on television, on the air, and he says standards and practices, they nervous now. They nervous that The Rock is running around. They want to control The Rock the way they want to control the people. Because nobody tells it like it is like The Rock. Then he says that Seth Rollins, you're going to come out and you're going to cackle. You're going to cackle and you're going to dance. Then he says that off is a direction where they can fuck. It's pretty clear that The Rock has lost his mind. And it's phenomenal. It's really fun. He's decided to put the Rock persona back on. He's turning the volume all the way back up. And it's amazing how one person can change everything. Not only with, the amount of cursing that he's doing, but how simple a lot of the stuff he's saying is. But he's still saying a lot of interesting things. And one of the things that I kind of, as I was listening to this 10-minute promo that he did, is that cadence is really important. And one of the best things about The Rock is how he puts his promos together, how he says them. It's great. It's truly phenomenal stuff. And I'm not even a huge fan of The Rock. And I'm telling you, this guy has been killing it. So they start the show with everybody coming to the building, surrounded by security and all this kind of stuff. We find out later that Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins have escaped their security. So the Bloodline come to the ring, acknowledge us, and we get a crackling new entrance for The Rock that's full of lightning and all this kind of stuff. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. Whoever thought about that is a goddamn genius. The Brahma Bull with the red eyes and the lightning behind it and all that kind of stuff plays with his original theme song, since this has been his theme song for 20 some odd years. So you know what it is. The Rock comes out. I mean, he's just swole to the gills. He's just ridiculously swole. He doesn't say anything. Roman doesn't say anything because as they seem like they're about to talk, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins comes to the ring. And I got to say, the following promo segment was rich with tension between all of these guys. Feel like they're main event guys, of course. But of course, Seth Rollins is a thing that exists in the world still. But it feels like it was really a tense moment. Like they really built this thing up nicely. So now Cody Rhodes is questioning if The Rock even has authority to make matches because Roman is his tribal chief. And The Rock says that they better shut their mouths because Roman is family and he is acknowledging Roman as family. Is what they do. Then Seth Rollins told The Rock to shut up and said that the future of this business is on the line. He had his time, but he cannot have theirs, which I think is probably a great line from Seth Rollins. Like, you had your time, it's our time now. And he accepted the challenge. Roman Reigns asked whether Seth the crossdresser speaks for Cody Rhodes. And he says that when he beats him, there's not going to be any more chances, no more title shots. The story is over. The Rock reiterates that he's the boss. He owns everything. He's the head of the board. And if Cody loses, there will be no more chances. And that world championship that Seth Rollins has is going to go to somebody else. At this point, The Rock then starts to focus on Cody a little bit. Say, you want to talk about family? Talk about my family. Let's talk about your family. Then he says, is it true that you're 20 years younger than your siblings? And Cody is like, okay, that thereabouts or whatever. Not exactly true. I mean, Teal and I are 3 years apart, but and anyway, The Rock says this is because Cody was a mistake, and Cody just shocked him for a second, and he thought about it, and then he slapped The Rock. Which, at the end of this thing, I said, I want to see Cody fight The Rock. I don't care that Roman Reigns is there anymore. We're at the point that I don't care that Roman's there anymore. Like, I already didn't really care about Seth being there. But now I'm like, this should just be Rock versus Cody. These guys are smacking each other in the face. They're going after each other's families. And it got so crazy in this particular segment here that a lot of people were talking about the various things that were said. There was a lot of people talking about the Roman Reigns cross-dresser line. There was people trying to figure out that Cody's sister is not 20 years older than he is. And there, it was crazy. It was crazy. But let's stick to this, then I'll get to the rest of that stuff. As a promo segment, I think it was fine. We really laid the groundwork for everybody's story here. The Rock is out there trying to acknowledge his family. Everything that he's doing here is doing it for his family. He wanted the biggest WrestleMania match of all time for his family. So that's why he acknowledged Roman Reigns. And that's why he's standing beside Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes is there to finish the story. He's there to get a fair match against Roman Reigns. If he has to go through The Rock and Roman in order to get that match, then he's willing to do that. Seth Rollins is fighting for the future. He's saying that, oh, there is no future for this company if the bloodline gets to continue doing what they want to do. And the only way to end the whole bloodline thing is to have Roman lose the belt. So you get the standard of why everybody is here. Okay, so you can question, why is Seth here? You know, is Roman being forgotten? Is he in the shadow of The Rock? All that kind of stuff. But that sets the standard. Now you start adding the second layer of, you know, the situation between Roman and The Rock, where Roman is now behind The Rock. And in some instances, he's smiling as people are getting at The Rock. They even have a picture of him smiling when The Rock got slapped. Of course, that was probably before he realized that The Rock got slapped, but either or. And then you have a lot of people who think that Seth Rollins is going to turn on Cody. And that's going to be a thing in the future. And those two pictures from Raw of Seth standing menacingly behind Cody. So you have that level there too. And then you have all the stuff that could possibly happen in the future. Since the match itself. A lot of conversation about who's going to eat the pin in this match, even though I think it's pretty obvious, you know, who's going to eat the pin in this match. So there's a lot going on here. Let's address some of the, before we address who takes the pin, let's address some of the controversies. A lot of people are upset that Roman Reigns called Seth Rollins a cross-dresser, which, in my opinion, so what? He called him a cross-dresser. Seth Rollins is literally wearing women's clothes. And it is what it is. It shouldn't be used as a derogatory. Look, it is what it is, man. We've moved. I think we're beyond caring about that kind of stuff right now. And you're being a Karen. Even if you're a male Karen right now, you want to, you can't use cross-dresser in a derogatory way. That's not what we do anymore. It's like, shut your ass. Shut up. We in here now, okay? We doing this. It's said, it's done. Seth Rollins wearing women's clothes is a fact. He's wearing a women's coat tonight. All right? Forget it. It's over. He's speaking factually. And people are like, he should apologize. The tribal chief should apologize. He should ignore you. That's what he should do. He should ignore all of this shit. Who cares that there are people who are upset that he called Seth Rollins a crossdresser? So what? All right? So what? He's a heel anyway. So what? Second, Teal, who is the sister of Cody, says that they're only 3 years apart. They're not 20 years apart. And then mentioned that The Rock's daughters are 20 years apart. And in reality, the hypocrisy is that Ava is several years older than her sisters. Which I didn't forgot that she even had sisters. I forgot The Rock even had kids other than Ava. So that should tell you right there that I don't pay too close attention. But there was quite a few people who was like, I think The Rock got Dusty's family mixed up with his own. It's It's fiction. It doesn't matter. Yes, it is kind of, it is not erasure of his sister because they mentioned his sister. They mentioned his sister was a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. They just aged her up by 17 years. And most people were talking about Gold Dustin or whatever. So, okay. Now the slap, I love the slap. The slap was a great spot. It was perfectly timed because it looked like they were trying to go off the air and the company was really panicking to get the slap in. It looked like it wasn't going to make it because of the dramatic milking that these guys were doing, but they still did it perfectly and got it right before it went off the air. So it led to great dramatic timing where everybody's like, oh my God, what happened after that? You know, like he smacked the Rock and then he went off the air. It's like, holy shit. Did they brawl? Of course we know they didn't brawl because there's people in the arena with cameras. So they didn't fight. But we were like, oh my goodness. If you were watching like a regular TV show back in like the 80s or 90s and it went off the air with this, you couldn't wait for the next week, the next installment of this. How is the fallout of this going to occur? And I feel the same way now, even though I know that there was nothing that happened. It's just, it was an incredible visual. It was a great scene. It was one of those things where you sat on the edge of your seat, like legit. After he got slapped, I was like, oh. And then it went off the air. I was like, oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Why'd you go off the air? I want to see what happens next. And that's really what makes things special when it comes to pro wrestling, is leaving people with that great cliffhanger. Now that the match is solidified, there's a conversation about who takes the pinfall in this thing. And I'm thinking the obvious answer is Seth Rollins takes the pinfall and the Bloodline win. Now, the idea that Cody could pin The Rock, that's possible. But that would mean that Roman turned on The Rock. I don't think they're going to have a completely fair, clean tag team match in which Cody Rhodes pins The Rock and there's no shenanigans. There's going to be shenanigans as far as I'm concerned. All right. Now, some of the shenanigans I probably would go with is Seth Rollins eats the pin and then Damian Priest cashes in the Money in the Bank and wins the title. That's the kind of shenanigans I'm for. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Why do you care about Damian Priest? My thing is, if you set up this situation where you know that there's other members of the Bloodline involved, you know Solo's going to be there, you know Jimmy Uso's going to be there. Jey Uso, we don't know if Jimmy and Jey are wrestling the same day or they wrestling the next day. We don't know yet. But if you do Jimmy and Jey the next day, then they're both fresh the day before. So you can have a setup where you have all your Avengers and stuff around the ring. And Solo or whatever manages to give the thumb to Seth, and Seth gets pinned by the Roman or something like that, or Seth gets pinned by the Rock. And then after everybody brawls, you know, Judgment Day swarms the ring, finishes the job on Cody, finishes the job on Seth, and Damian Priest walks out as the World Heavyweight Champion and is forced to defend the title in a triple threat match against Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre on night 2. That would add far more intrigue into the World Heavyweight Championship match. Of course, it means Seth has to take 2 losses in one night. I don't think that matters, if we be honest. But I think it's pretty clear that Seth is the guy taking the pin. Do you really want Cody or Seth to pin The Rock? And I don't think so. I don't think you want either one of those guys getting that much of a rub. Do you want Roman to lose and he's got to wrestle Cody the next night? No, I don't think you want to do that either. I don't think you want to spoil the finish to your night 2 main event by having Roman get pinned in the night 1 main event. Do you want Cody to get pinned by Roman? Well, I don't think you want that, because for starters, that's how WrestleMania last year ended, and people were in their feelings about that. But it's also possible, I guess, that you could have Roman Reigns turn on The Rock and him leave The Rock laying in the middle of the ring, and The Rock gets pinned, preferably by Cody Rhodes. considering that's his main antagonist at this point, or main protagonist. And then, Roman says he doesn't need anybody else. He can beat Cody on his own. And he goes into WrestleMania and he loses. And then we can make that the impetus for the Rock Roman match next year at WrestleMania. So there's a lot of different ways you can go here. But I think it's pretty obvious that unless you do a screw job that ends up with the Rock getting pinned, that Seth has to take the pin. I don't think Cody should take the pin. I don't think Roman should take the pin. They got to wrestle the next night. So either Rock or Seth. And I think of the two, it's more likely to be Seth. So expect there to be bloodline rules at WrestleMania Night 2. And I don't think bloodline rules necessarily benefits Roman Reigns. Again, I think that there's probably going to be a lot of Samoans coming out there, and they're probably all going to turn on Roman. So either The Rock is going to turn on Roman, or Roman's going to turn on The Rock. And either way, I think that's going to be the end of WrestleMania Night 2 and the end of Roman's title run and the beginning of Cody's story. Or the end of Cody's story, even though technically as a champion, it's the beginning of a new story. It's the beginning of a new chapter. But it was a phenomenal promo segment that at least people were paying attention. People swear that they don't care about these long promos, but when something inaccurate or something offensive happens, people show up and you can't use gendered language to address everybody. Shut your ass up. Who cares that he called him a cross-dresser? So what? Get over it. One thing that I probably won't be able to get over anytime soon is this logos in the ring stuff. I am not a fan. So we start the show with Logan Paul, who says he's a conqueror. He joined the WWE not to just be a guy on the roster, but to take over. He had the best rookie year of anybody. He's a U.S. champion. He's the most viral. He's the secret sauce of WWE, and now business is booming. And he says that some would say that WWE is in its prime. And he then revealed that the Prime logo is in the middle center ring. And then that Prime energy drink, or whatever this thing is the official ring partner sponsor of WWE. And it will be in the center ring of WrestleMania from this point forward. For every PLE, Prime is going to be in the center of the ring. I wanted to throw up. This sucks. All right. Mark Shapiro, the COO of TKO, he has been very big on, the WWE, they don't market the ring. The clean ring days are over, which we know is a Vince thing. Vince never liked to sell ad space on the ring. He just didn't like how it looked. I also not really a big fan of how it looks. TNA does it, AEW does it, UFC does it. It's just going to be tons of crap in the ring. And is it in comparison to the Slim Jim match or the zombie match or whatever? I would rather there be logos in the ring than for the match itself to be influenced by ad revenue and sponsors. Of course, this doesn't guarantee that the ad revenue and sponsored matches are going to stop. It just means that they're going to start selling ad space on the ring. So not only are you going to have Slim Jim's Battle Royal, but you're probably going to end up with some other crap being sponsored in the ring. So I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm really not. And I'm certainly not a fan of it being Logan Paul's Prime. That shit is yak spit. I hate all energy drinks. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's that crap that got The Rock cross-dressing in commercials. The big Dwayne energy. He was cross-dressing in that commercial. While we talking about it. But Prime is the biggest WWE sponsor in history. They didn't disclose how long the deal is or for how much money. But it has to be substantial if they're selling the ring in WrestleMania. And here's why I'm against it. I'm not just against it because it's Prime, and Prime energy drink is yak spit, like all energy drinks. I think I've said this already. But I'm against it not just because I'm a Vince McMahon guy, and I'm unabashedly so. I am against this because I'm against the excessive visual pollution that is ad space literally everywhere. I don't need that. That's the one thing that I think maybe socialists have a good a good critique on, is that we don't need to have ads shoved in our face all day long in every single endeavor that we're involved in. I don't think that's necessary, and I don't think it's healthy. You know, if the wrestlers are going to come out and they're going to start looking like NASCAR drivers with patches all over them, is that the next thing? Is that now we're going to start selling ad space on one of the wrestlers' tights or something like that? Is that's what's next? Are we going to start having sponsors tattooed on the wrestler's back or on the back of their gear or something like this? I don't like it. To me, it seems excessive. It is pollution where you're just being bombarded with stuff, especially stuff that you don't need, stuff that doesn't really improve your life. It's just shit that people can pay for and throw it in your face all day. I don't really need that. I swear I don't need that. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of them selling ad space in the ring. I like watching wrestling and not being told to buy shit. I mean, we've gone from there being the occasional sponsor that they talked about on air to now the commercials is embedded into the show, embedded into the matches. They're sponsoring matches. Now they're in the ring, for God's sake. It's like it's literally everywhere now. And I don't necessarily care for it, if we're being honest. But, I mean, it's what's done is done. And I'm sure they feel good about themselves. I'm pretty sure they feel like they're maximizing the amount of money that they can make off of the WWE product. And one of the things with sponsorship revenue, as we've talked about extensively on this channel, when Vince said that the company had peaked, this is part of what he meant, is that sponsorship revenue was substantially less than UFC. And one of the reasons was because they didn't sell the ring. And now they decided to go ahead and do that. So now the mat's not sacred. It's just another commercial for more useless crap. Bad movies, cancer sticks, cancer drinks, all kinds of other horseshit, right? So it is what it is. All right, let's talk about the rest of this segment. Randy Orton came out there and crashed the party. I tried to attack Logan Paul, who escaped, but KSI did not. I don't know who KSI is. All I know is he's his partner. He's Logan Paul's partner. And KSI sold the RKO very well. He did a good job. Then we ended up with a tag team match where Randy Orton and Kevin Owens wrestled Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And guess who took the pin? If you said Austin Theory, you are correct. I don't know what Austin Theory did to Triple H. And whatever it is, he needs to just apologize or ask for his walking papers. I don't understand what he did to this guy that made him this goddamn mad at him. But, this is what they're doing. After the match, Logan Paul tried to assault Randy Orton and Kevin Owens with brass knuckles. Orton ended up snatching the brass knuckles away, and Logan Paul fled. Kevin Owens was, thinking that Randy Orton was about to hit him. And then Randy put the brass knuckles in his tights. So Kevin Owens, he's not doing anything, which is not my problem because I'm not a big fan of Kevin Owens, but he's had no forward movement. And Randy Orton is in a holding pattern. It's very unfortunate. Now, they're still telling the story between him and Logan Paul, but I'm just demoralized over that Prime in the ring thing. That shit sucks. Moving on. Bayley, she cut a promo backstage. She's hanging on by a thread. She's questioning what was real and what isn't. She's wondering if her and Damage Control were ever really friends. And that she said that Dakota Kai manipulated her and tricked her. And that she did a lot of things, a lot of bad things over the last several years. She did things to get attention, which I can't believe a woman told the truth. She said she did a lot of things to get attention. And then says she did whatever she did to get to the top. And she did it all for Damage Control, but now it seems to be backfiring. She then says that the betrayal of Damage Control will backfire. Now she's more focused and that they made the mistake of underestimating her. So, I like this. This was actually pretty good. Her saying that she did a lot of things to get attention sounds classic woman. And it actually makes sense when it comes to Bayley's character in terms of her wanting to be a role model and all this kind of stuff. So, that was good. Dakota Kai and Damage Control, they responded. Dakota Kai saying that she's always been the brains of this operation. And that if Bayley is so smart, she should have saw all of this coming. And Io said it has been her era since day one. And that she being Bayley, was never part of their vision. So they always was plotting to get rid of Bayley. And, okay. So they played the long game when it came to Bayley. That makes sense. Now, the interesting bit about this actually comes after Bayley's promo, as Naomi is watching and she's kind of distraught. She's like, I don't like this. This sucks. And Bianca walks into the shot and says, I know you ain't sitting here feeling bad for Bayley after what her and Damage Control did to everybody. And then Naomi starts talking about, yeah, she's seen friendships fall apart and she knows what it's like to be betrayed by friends and all this kind of stuff. And then Bianca's like, nah, you don't get it. You weren't here for all the terrible stuff that Damage Control was doing. I don't feel bad for Bayley. And they kind of started, I don't want to say arguing. It seemed more like Bianca was being incredulous on the subject of how Naomi could feel in any way sympathetic to Bayley. And it came across like Bianca was being kind of bitchy. You know, like, you shouldn't feel bad for them. You can't tell other people how to feel. You know, like, you can't tell. You already understand that Naomi wasn't there. She wasn't a victim of Damage Control like, Bianca was. So it makes sense for them to have that conversation. But for Bianca to be so insistent that Naomi stopped feeling bad for Bayley, it seems kind of silly. In any event, I don't understand how this benefits Naomi at all. Is she going to help Bayley? Is she going to build her Avengers team next? It's going to be the A-Force. So we're going to have the Avengers in the main event and the new Avengers and what is probably the C plot of WrestleMania at this point. So Bayley's going to build her own little team, and I'm guessing Naomi's going to be a part of this. And that's going to rub Bianca the wrong way. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Bianca will turn around and actually help fight Damage Control. But that would mean she had to forgive Bayley, and I don't think she's going to do that. All right, so the next match on the show, Lashley versus Karrion Kross. Not a particularly good match, and it ends a disqualification. AOP jumped in the ring, assaulted Bob. The Street Profits made the save. Scarlett and B-Fab had a run-in chase scene. It got chaotic pretty quickly. I don't know what they're doing here. I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think they care about these guys, any of these people. I don't think any of these people matter to WWE at the moment. They're just filler. They're just on the show. And it doesn't matter what they do or what they say, and just, it doesn't matter. It's unfortunate, but I think I don't know what we're leading to. But the idea that they're going to tease this match and then not deliver it, instead have a disqualification, tells me that they're probably going to run it back at a later date with some kind of no disqualification kind of deal. But this is coming across like it's going to end up being one of those new blood. It wasn't new blood. It was the new breed versus ECW kind of gimmicks, where it was like an 8-man tag. It seemed like this might be that kind of situation at WrestleMania. It's going to be a good old solid 8-man tag in the middle of the show, so you can go get popcorn and not care at all about what's going on. All right, Elektra Lopez. She walked up to Dragon Lee, who we hadn't seen in forever, and Dragon Lee was on the phone, and she's like, "Are you talking to Rey Mysterio?" Like, he probably has a girlfriend, wife, or somebody that he's talking to. You don't gotta accost him like this. So then the Legado del Fantasma, they encircled Dragon Lee to make fun of him for trying to be like Rey Mysterio. And Escobar tells him that Rey Mysterio and the LWO are dead. They're the past. And that Dragon Lee, well, he's nothing. So then he got shoved and they pushed him to the floor like a little kid. And then Angel says he'll meet him in the ring. So they're bullying Dragon Lee now. Okay. Fourth match on the show, Angel Garza versus Dragon Lee. The match could have been so much better. There was a lot of botching in this match, specifically the powerbomb spot. Oh my God, I was on the edge of my seat. I was so stressed out because I thought Angel Garza was about to break his goddamn neck. I don't know what was going on here, but it didn't look good. Dragon Lee ends up winning with a roll-up counter. Then he was absolutely destroyed by Legado del Fantasma. And then we're told that the LWO is not in the building. And I was like, why? Is there a good reason why they're not there? No. There was no good reason why they're not there. They're just not there. At least Dragon Lee won the match, which is good. I expected more out of Angel Garza versus Dragon Lee. It's unfortunate. And Umberto, his name is just Berto now. That's his name. His name is Berto. So he went from Umberto Carrillo to Umberto to now just Berto. Berto. What kind of name is that for another? That's a nickname, if that. And we were better off just coming up with a whole different name for this guy. You'd better off just calling him Carrillo, or something. But Berto? No. No, that sucks. That sucks as a name, dog. That's no good. So Dragon Lee, they're going to bring him into the LWO. I guess they didn't want him and Carlito being in at the same time. So is Carlito out and Dragon Lee in? We don't know. Rey Mysterio will be back next week to make sense of this thing. And the war with the Legado del Fantasma versus the LWO is still going on. This thing has been going on, I think, 4 months or more. Because if I remember correctly, Carlito versus Santos Escobar was set for Survivor Series, which was in November. And November was 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago. And it's still going on. Ray has been injured twice since this thing started, I think. I think this is 2 Rey Mysterio injuries ago since this thing began. And it's still going on. I'm at the point where I don't think every story needs to be long form in this way. Not everything needs to go on for months and months and months. We're at the point where I'm questioning how this thing going to end. Because, clearly I think the idea is Escobar versus Ray at WrestleMania. But is it going to be hair versus mask? Because that's the only way I think it can end. And it would benefit everybody involved. And it would be a match that would draw some money. Otherwise, this is just simply mid-card shit. And if you're going to have simple mid-card shit, this stuff should have been over a long time ago. But if it's going to have any real meaning to it, and it's about Lucha Libre, let's do mask versus hair. And I think if you pitch that idea, Escobar will be willing to shave his head for a short time. It's temporary. Hair grows back. And it'd be great for the Mexican Hispanic audience if Rey Mysterio shaves his head. I think that would be great. And it'd be a great way to end the feud. And a good, solid way of ending this thing for good. So then you can finally move Legado del Fantasma probably to Raw, where they can feud with Andrade. But I'm okay with this. I'm okay with Dragon Lee getting his feet under him. The matches need to get a little bit better. But he's phenomenal. Both of these guys are really good. He just had bad match. So. Okay, Tiffany Stratton defeated Michin in a match for no reason. Instead of getting a Tiffany Stratton promo or a vignette or something, we got her wrestling Michin. She's surprisingly still very over, despite the fact that she doesn't do anything except wrestle matches. We'll see how long this lasts. Poor Michin. Actually, no, she sucks. AJ Styles. He cut a promo saying that he watched LA Knight walk around like he owns the place. When in reality, LA Knight doesn't belong in the same ring with him. Then he said that the WWE locker room is a cutthroat place to be, and that LA Knight is overachieving and under-talented. I was like, ooh, that's kind of nasty. LA Knight was watching on television, and then he took a chair to the TV. He's talking to the TV. He's beating the TV like black women beat their children, hitting them with the chair and yelling at it, and then said that AJ Styles won't show up. He's going to have to go find him or something to that effect. I don't dislike the AJ Styles LA Knight stuff. I think it's actually not terrible. I think I said this before, but we probably should be doing more with LA Knight. Hell, we should be doing more with AJ Styles, for God's sakes. But it's a season where at least they have a place, At least LA Knight and AJ Styles have a place. It's mid-card stuff, but at least it's mid-card is not bad. Solid mid-card stuff, which this is not bad. These are 2 upper mid-card guys. This works. Randy Orton having an upper mid-card feud with Logan Paul. That works. The Lashley and Cross stuff, I don't think that works. I don't think people care about the LWO versus the Legado del Fantasma. I think it's gone on too long, and there's been so many clashes between those groups. And I think that the LWO, LDF, the Cross and Lashley and all of their guys, I think both of those feuds suffer from the same thing. They've been going on for so long that people have forgotten what they were fighting over, and there's no end to it. Like, because there's nothing to be won or lost, and nobody remembers why they're doing this, or it's cloaked in vague reasoning, you're set with, how does this end, and why do I care? Cross is wrestling Lashley. So what? Why do I care about that? I don't even remember what they're fighting over. At least when it comes to Legado del Fantasma and the LWO, we're talking about the future of Lucha Libre and that kind of thing. It's kind of vague. Like, who the hell knows what the future of Lucha Libre means? But it's all about, Ray's time is ending. Somebody's got to take his place. Dragon Lee is being handpicked. Escobar is trying to force the issue for himself. That's kind of the thing that I'm looking at it from the perspective, but that's all, I think, headcanon, because I'm not sure any of that was even mentioned. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of, at first, it seemed like Escobar was going to be groomed to be Rey Mysterio's guy. And then Escobar couldn't wait. He got jealous. He turned on Rey, and then Rey adopted Dragon Lee. And that seems to be the direction that we're going in, is that, Rey is old. He's on his way out. Who's going to take his place from this point forward? But that would mean that the feud is between Dragon Lee and Escobar, not between Rey and Escobar, but the feud is certainly between Rey and Escobar. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if they have a mask versus hair match, which is classic Lucha Libre, so it functions within that story, and it usually ends feuds in the Lucha world, you can actually work with that. If it's going to be Dragon Lee versus Escobar, you can still do mask versus hair because Dragon Lee is wearing a mask. The outcome has to be the same in terms of Dragon Lee has to win. But the only way to elevate this from the muck and mire of Lashley and Cross and some of the other shit that they've got going on is to put the mask versus the hair. Now, in terms of Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair, they didn't touch on anything for them this week. They didn't cross paths. Instead, they had Bianca interact with Naomi. I don't know how that furthers any story she's got going on for WrestleMania. It doesn't seem like she has one. So, everything other than the Bloodline stuff and maybe Logan Paul is an absolute disaster on SmackDown. It is a mess. The Women's Championship is okay. At least it has a solid message. But clearly, they're looking at the idea of having Bayley put together a team to help her fight off Damage Control. But it would have to be women that they're not using right now. It would have to be like Michin and Naomi and who else? I mean, is Jade Cargill? Is she on SmackDown? I think maybe Jade is involved. I still had the idea that perhaps Bianca and Jade would be the team wrestling Damage Control at WrestleMania, and I'm going to stick to that. But maybe that's how we get there. Is Naomi talks Bianca into feeling bad about Bayley, and the two of them start to work together or whatever. And then maybe they take Naomi out, and then they have to replace her, and they replace her with Jade Cargill. But I've also read somewhere that they might want Jade Cargill to wrestle Nia Jax at WrestleMania. I don't know. We still got a lot of time between now and WrestleMania to make sense of these things. But at least the top matches are really hot and really interesting, and they're drawing and people care. It's everything else on the show. And these shows are long shows, right? So these shows are hefty in terms of how long they're going to be. So it needs to be a solid mid-card. Great that the Bloodline is, and Cody and all this stuff is very hot. I appreciate that very much. But what about the rest of this show? What is everybody going to care about in other parts of this show? And they haven't fully given us a reason to give a damn about the Intercontinental Championship match yet. The U.S. title is set, of course, if it's going to be Logan Paul and Randy Orton, because everybody's going to care about Randy Orton. But the Tag Team Championship is a disaster. Hell, the World Heavyweight Championship match is mucked because Drew McIntyre is not even anywhere within Seth Rollins' mind state. He don't even care about Drew McIntyre. So why should anybody else care, you know? You got a Money in the Bank winner that is no threat, that is essentially a fraud, who has had no interaction at all with the world champion. It's been a disaster. The tag team division is full of minis and losers and bums, and the women's tag team division is not much better. It's just everything outside of the Bloodline story has been shaky at best. And we need more to make these things more solid, to make people invest more into WrestleMania, because these shows are supposed to be a roller coaster, not a, oh, turn it in. You could ignore the rest of the show, but tune in for the main events. You know, that's how I see it. I would think you want to get people to watch the whole show, but that's just me. All right. What did you guys think of SmackDown? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.